I was doing research slash at first I was thinking about toxic masculinity, and originally this episode was going to be about why I would never date a toxic man, for obvious reasons of course, but just going into more details about the day-to-day life. But then my brain just crisscrossed, and then I started thinking about how women actually promote toxic masculinity. So we're going to take a pretty, I think, a deep dive today. Keep listening and let's keep talking. Welcome back to QT with the Pod. My name is Quenisha and I am your host. Welcome back. I'm happy to have you back here with me to have another conversation. If you are not following me on Instagram, please be sure to do so at BitQuiqui and at QT with a Pod. Don't worry, both will be linked below. Don't worry. So today I want to talk about how women promote toxic masculinity. And I want this to be the last time I talk about this, but will it be? I don't know. So when I was thinking about it, I'm on TikTok, of course, doing my academic research, and there's this trend going, and it's like name the red flags. I think I talked about it. I don't think I talked about it on my podcast, but before there was name red flags in men that if you see them, you will not date them. And so a man did the reverse, the opposite, and he was like, what are red flags in women that if you see it in women, you won't date them? So I haven't really seen any men stitch that video and give any clear red flags, but I have seen girls do it where they give like friendship red flags. Like, I won't be a girl's friend if she does this or this or this. And it was also different because it was more so when women are naming red flags in men, they are naming abusive things like signs of a controlling man or signs of an abusive man. Just things that don't make this man a decent human being. None of them were just like, if he plays video games, I won't date him, which I'm sure they're out there, but those aren't the popular ones. So I think it's safe to assume that the biggest red flags are those of like an abusive, a controlling, a narcissistic man, things like that. But I did see one man do it for a woman, but it was actually no, it wasn't a man. It was a gay woman who did it for women, for other men and gay women, I guess. And she said that if a woman doesn't have many friends, that's a red flag, which that can be, I'm sure you guys know, I don't have many friends, and I have said that many times. So I don't think that's a red flag. Um, and something else, I don't even remember. But the point is, like, red flags in women aren't those that have the potential to ruin your life. So I thought about that, and yeah. So then I started thinking about, well, I saw this other, yes, okay, so I saw this other TikTok and I played it for you guys 2 episodes ago, I think, where it was talking about how this mom was yelling at her son for talking to a girl and basically raising a toxic man. So mothers promote toxic masculinity with their children and so on and so on. It progresses throughout society. So let's jump into what exactly is toxic masculinity. So one definition that I wrote down is that it is cultural norms that hinder men from exposing emotion, that enable them to be power hungry, controlling, violent, narcissistic, etc. And being a toxic man can also result in the domination and the devaluation of women, even if these women are their partners. So I took different pieces from different websites that I was reading from and kind of came up with my own. Um, and then some of the things that go along with being like, I guess, masculine. So now, not even toxic masculinity, but what do we as a society consider masculine? So if a man is a breadwinner, he's a protector, he's a leader, we say that's a masculine man for the most part. Now, some if a man does not have those traits, so if a man is emotional and compassionate, caring, as a society, we don't value that man and we don't value that man's contributions to society at all because those are the things that we seek in women. So if a man is not powerful, we don't respect them. If a man seeks to understand as a society, and I'm speaking generally, we do not value them. So that can obviously show you why men are men feel pressure to act a certain way or be a certain way because they aren't valued if they do something else. So they are holding back from showing any signs of quote unquote weakness or femininity. They are repressing themselves in a sense, and that shows up in violent acts. So we have men who are just very, very violent and do fucked up shit, and it's not nice. So physical dominance, aggression, or even an inward. So those are outward expressions, and or they can have a more inward expression of repression, being that they are depressed, they are addicted to some sort of substance, or even go as far as committing suicide. So I think that's all I had to say about toxic masculinity slash masculinity. So yeah, we want men to be a certain way. Men try to stay a certain way, therefore repressing all parts of themselves because everyone is masculine and feminine in some sort. But men who are toxic choose to push down on their femininity so that they can be more masculine. But why is that? Because again, everything comes from something, nothing comes from nothing. So from I can't speak on white men really, but I can speak on black boys because I've seen them at home and in school, of course, and Hispanic boys because I've seen them in school. And I'm speaking from a teacher's perspective and even thinking about the way I handled certain situations. So, generally speaking, boys can't show emotion. Like literally when I thought about it and I think about the things I've heard throughout my life, it's wrong for boys to show emotion. So if they show love for a girl, like if they are in love with a girl, they're simping. If they are scared of something, they're pussies. If they are excited for something, like they feel joyful, that can possibly be taken as them being gay. If they are crying because of pain, it's an over exaggeration. Like, I don't know if this is just a black thing or not, but like just thinking when your mom spanks you, whoops your butt, and you're crying, and she or he, your dad, she or he may say, keep crying, or I'll give you something to cry about, or stop crying before I give you something to cry about. You're crying for no reason, invalidating their pain. Like, whoopings hurt. Like, people are supposed to cry. Like, what? If you whoop someone, it hurts. They're gonna cry. But having them repress that, telling them don't cry, it doesn't hurt, that does something to their mental, Like, the in just thinking it can lead to like major health issues later on in the future. Like, imagine if a man is feeling something and he's just like, "No, this is nothing. That's not pain. I can handle it." And then it turns out to be toe cancer or something. I don't know. But just repressing pain. So, whatever emotion, so I'm naming these good emotions, bad emotions, neutral emotions, they can be taken any other kind of way except masculine. And then when they do have outbursts, so let's say when they do have outbursts, let me say my statement first. When they do have outbursts, we tend to almost validate them. A boy hits a girl, he likes you, that's the reason he's being mean to you. Um, we validate them or ignore them. A boy falls off the playground, I feel like I would tell him shake it off, like it's okay, like go rinse it off. I wouldn't give him compassion. I wouldn't be like, oh my god, are you okay? But if a girl fell off the playground, skinned her knee, you know what? Nah, not me personally. I'm thinking back to my teaching days. I feel like I told them both, like, it's okay because if you make a big deal out of it, then they start crying. And I can't have that. So it truly depends. But generally speaking, we are more likely to comfort a crying woman than we are a crying man, just like we're more likely to comfort a crying girl more than we are to comfort a crying boy. Okay. So, even not acknowledging their pain or making excuses for their aggression, we as a society are promoting toxic masculinity. I hate, excuse me, I hate to tell you, sis, but it's the truth. So that's when they're children, and I'm sure there's so many other examples I could name, but that just think about that. Like, think about a classroom setting. Think about your family members, if you can relate. So the second part, well, the next part I want to touch on is adult men and women, because I mean, yes, it starts in childhood, but how does it how does it perpetuate itself into adulthood? So I'm thinking about like even things I see in potential mates. Like, what do I see in men that I'm just like, he has to have these traits in order to be considered as masculine? And I had to stop myself because, like, and I had to stop myself because I found myself looking for that toxic man in a sense, because the toxic masculine man, because that is what I deemed as masculine. So I had to definitely stop myself, and I had to think about like why I didn't want to be with a toxic man. Now I've never a toxic masculine man, not a toxic. There's a difference between a toxic man and a toxic masculine man, I think. Maybe, possibly. Give me time to think about that. Am I just saying the same thing? If a man is toxic, but a man can be toxic and not be super masculine. All right. Anyways, reasons I would never want to date a toxic man. So, kind of going to my point, and yeah, I stand by these. Now there are more, but I wrote some down. One, I would probably want to do like a spa day with my boyfriend slash husband, like do face masks and like paint my nails. If you want to paint your nails, sure we can. But I mean, I would have more purpose. Like it serves a purpose for me. So things like that. Like sometimes you want to do girl stuff with your boyfriend. And if my boyfriend feels like now he is gay or his sexuality is threatened because he has a face mask on, we can't be together, sis, because you too fragile. I was also looking at fragile masculinity. So now that I'm not reading it and talking about it, I guess that is what it is. So toxic masculinity can create fragile masculinity. But yeah, you can't feel threatened because you put a face mask on. Because I don't feel like my sexuality is threatened if I pick up a football. Like, grow up. Second reason, I won't be able to cry in front of them. So it seems as though men who are overly masculine, they wouldn't know what to do if you are crying. So if I'm sad about something and I do want to talk about it, they just tell me to suck it up and get over it instead of actually listening to me and comforting me and possibly helping me come up with a solution if that's the purpose of that conversation. So just even expressing emotion at all. Um, Toxic masculinity will not allow me to even openly communicate with this partner either. Maybe this partner who is a toxic masculine man, I feel like I have to say toxic masculine man, pr- most likely does not value communication for not for no purpose, but communication that doesn't. I see like I feel like a quote unquote toxic masculine man would thrive in business, for instance, because they don't have to worry about emotions, and they do play a game, and they do, it just doesn't. Yeah, okay, back to my point. Communication. I won't be able to communicate with this man, communicate feelings, vice versa. He won't be able to do the same thing with me. Therefore, without communication, relationship sucks. I'm sure all of you know that. Me being me, I have a problem with communication, so I cannot be with someone that can't communicate, because I need to be with someone that I know if I say something, they'll help me kind of, they'll help me get it out in a sense, because I am, yeah, I'm me. Secondly, I want, did I say secondly after I said six things? Anyways, next, I want that person to be able to understand me. So being able to empathize with me, that's, it's important. And typically people who hold power, or people who aren't a part of disadvantaged groups, don't know how to empathize with others. They don't know how it feels. They can't imagine putting themselves in someone else's shoes. So that's important. So yeah, that's all I have for the reason I would never date a toxic masculine man. Now, I'm sure there are other reasons. I just can't think of them right now. But I charge you with this. If you are a woman listening to this podcast, and there is a man in your life, a child in your life, who is of the male species, think about think about why they are the way they are. Now, am I saying give all men a pass? Hell no, I would never say that. I would never say that, because if you know better, you do better. And I feel like there's too much literature out there. Social media is out there. Like, you will have to be a fool to not see anything on being on toxic masculinity. You would be a fool. But especially for the younger ones who are growing, take your time with them. Let them express their emotions. Like my nephew, I love, absolutely love when he comes to me and he expresses his feelings about anything. Like, just, I didn't like when this happened, and he talks about it. Now, sometimes does he want to get rowdy and fight? But it's just because we're playing. Like, that's just how we play. Yeah, sometimes. But give them the space to actually express themselves. Let them know it's okay to be sad. Like, he was let down by his mom, and I was like, "Are you mad at her?" He was like, "I'm not mad. I'm just really disappointed. I just really thought that blah blah blah." Like, he expressed it, and that is beautiful. Let our little black and brown boys express themselves, and stop being so hard on them. They don't have to grow up. They don't have to be treated like a man at an early age. I was talking to one of my coworkers about this, and it's like we always feel the need to give black and brown children a reality check. We always feel the need to sort of humble them and be like, "No, I'm gonna check you right now and let you know, because this is how the world is gonna treat you." And I don't know, like, I see the benefit of it, and that's the way I was raised. Definitely had that reality check. Well, I don't know what would happen if we didn't suppress them. What would happen if we did raise our little Jay Sean's like Karens? What would happen? And not to feel entitled, but just to feel like I can do anything, not second guess anything, and to actually feel like my feelings are valid and they matter. Like, that would be beautiful. So, the little ones, most importantly, give them that space to express themselves. Don't suppress their emotions. Don't invalidate any of their emotions. Them crying is valid. Them being happy is valid. Them being in love is valid. And it doesn't have to be the same thing. Now, for you old niggas out there, y'all, I don't know what to tell y'all, because I refuse to try to help you. And it's not because I No, it is. I just don't have time for it. Figure it out yourself. You're old enough. You can read just like I know how to read. I don't know, especially if you're over the age of 25. Get out. Just get out. I have nothing else to say to you. Well, thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Tell me what you think about this. What do we think about toxic masculinity and the way women promote it? Am I wrong? Is there a way to help the men 25 and up? Tell me. Find this post on Instagram and respond. Please share this episode with a friend. There's no reason to keep this to yourself. Why would you be so selfish to not share this podcast with somebody? Like, I'm looking at y'all funny right now. The fact that you would be so selfish not to share this knowledge with somebody in your life. You should be ashamed of yourself. Bye.